Tonight, from Hollywood, The Barbara Stanwyck Show.
Are women fitted to take their place in the higher executive positions in American business? And what if a woman's success in business is bought at the price of her husband's failure? Well, these are the questions examined dramatically in our story tonight, Big Career. Dramatized by Jerome Gruskin and Albert Bike and directed by Richard Wark. I play the role of a high-powered woman executive who could make decisions in her office, but not in her home. Roy, do you know what time it is?
Yes, darling?
Please hurry, I don't want to be late.
Heaven forbid the universe would come apart at the seams.
You really don't want to go, do you?
The prospect, dear Harriet, fills me with an unutterable sense of repugnance.
I know, I'm sorry, but unfortunately I happen to be guest of honor.
And so you want to put your best foot forward. The one with the heel named Roy Melvane of the San Francisco Melvanes.
You don't really believe that, Roy. Don't ever say it again.
No, I can't make it that early. Oh, baby, I can't. I'm taking my hard-working little wife out to dinner. Bennington's giving a banquet in her honor. Yeah, Phil Bennington's big, beautiful department store. Wait a minute. Cora, what are you doing?
I'm just emptying the ashtray, sir.
Can't you see I'm using the phone?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Yeah. No, baby, I tried to get out of it. I couldn't. Oh, don't be like that. I'll see you later. Just as soon as I can get away, I promise. Darling, you're absolutely devastating.
You are happy about my promotion, aren't you?
Why, darling, your brilliant success neutralizes all my puny failings.
Please don't drink anymore.
Why not? Everyone knows you're married to a pedigreed lush. Harriet, how would you define me? Or don't you have a definition?
All you need is the right job.
Your loyalty is very touching. How about cutting the salesgirls' convention? Stay home, split a bottle of champagne.
Oh, Roy, darling, you know we can't.
No, I suppose not. Not with 300 guests waiting. All of whom, from Bennington down to the lady corset fitter in the basement, more important to you than I am.
Now, that's nonsense, and you know it.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Forget it. I'll be right down.
Mrs. Melvane, while you were upstairs, Mr. Melvane was making a phone call.
Cora, I forbid you carrying tales about my husband.
Don't you want to know what's going on?
No, I told you for the last time. Answer the door, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Cora.
Good evening, Mr. Bennington.
Melvane still here?
Yes, sir. Come right in. Mrs. Melvane is in the living room.
Hello, Harriet.
Phil, what are you doing here?
Well, I saw your car as I was passing by. I thought I'd stop in. Is Roy coming with you?
Yes, he'll be down in a minute.
Good. Maybe we can all drive down together.
I'd rather not.
Is anything wrong?
Phil, I don't know how long I'll be your new vice president. I'd like to resign as soon as possible.
Oh, what's got into you? Why?
I want to stay home and do the things other wives do.
Like what?
Oh, like having breakfast with my husband, running my home the way it should be run, being here when he gets home for dinner. I owe that to him, Phil.
Has Roy found a job?
No, not yet, but he will. I know he will.
Well, I hope he does, too, but why drop this bomb tonight?
Well, the one thing you've always liked about me is my decisiveness.
Not only that one thing, Harry.
Hello, boy.
Hello, Roy.
Missed you at that alumni thing last night. What happened?
I had a department head meeting.
I don't know how you and Harriet stand those things. Stuffy room, conflict of personalities. Sounds horrible. How about a drink?
No, thanks. I just stopped in for a moment.
You thought I'd be too tiddly to take Harriet? You always were a good pal. Always filled in the breaches for me.
Well, I'll see you both later.
Good old Phil. Did you know that he is the keeper of the keys to the apartments of 5 ladies?
Phil Bennington?
3 aunts, his mother, and an old maid sister. He likes to feel safe, doesn't he? So safe that he falls in love with a married woman. Not a woman who is smart enough to keep him at just the right distance. Harriet, how does it feel to be loved by someone across a chasm of timidity? Don't you ever feel like saying, well, don't be afraid, dear Philip, just give me your little hand?
Are you ready to go now?
A last-minute reprieve.
Oh, good evening, Mrs. Melvin.
Good evening, Harriet. Is my son here?
Yes, he's in the living room.
Thank you. Wait here.
Mother, why, the doctor said you should stay in bed.
Doctors.
What is it, Mother?
This afternoon, an insurance investigator, a detective, came to see me. He said that the diamond necklace you gave to Harriet has been stolen. Is this true?
But yes, about a month ago. Roy, you said you told her.
Well, I was going to. You weren't feeling well, Mother. I didn't want to worry you.
How were they stolen?
I kept them in the drawer of my dressing table. The lock had been broken.
What did the police say?
They think it's that Pacific Heights burglar, the one that's been in all the papers. They're still working on it.
Those diamonds have been in the family for over 100 years.
Well, we'll get them back. Don't worry about it.
You're obviously going out, so I won't detain you.
No. Phil is giving a banquet for Harriet. She's just been promoted to vice president.
Vice President? Congratulations.
Yes, she's come a long way.
You were a mannequin, weren't you?
I modeled clothes, yes.
It's always seemed to me that a career as a wife is sufficient for any woman. Roy, I want those diamonds back in the family. Good night.
Good night.
She'll never like me, no matter how hard I try.
Don't worry about it.
I don't intend to. We'll take your car. Mine's still in the repair shop. I'll drive.
I think I'll drop into the club later and wash down those after-dinner speeches. You mind?
No.
Didn't think you would. Oh, I'll need the car. But Phil can drive you home.
I'll take a cab.
Don't be unkind, Harriet. Why deny him a few precious stolen moments of bliss?
Why do you always needle me when you've been drinking?
That's a misconception, darling. Maybe your conscience is troubling you.
What do you suppose it's matter?
It's simple, out of gas. I told you this morning it was low. Why didn't you have it filled?
I'm sorry, I forgot. Well, after all, I do have a job.
And I haven't.
But I didn't mean it that way. I meant I was in a hurry.
You're always in a hurry. Now I'll have to try and get a cab.
Roy, there's a gas station across the street. Couldn't you?
Oh, all right. The trouble with you, Harriet, is that everything down at Bennington's always comes first. Always.
Roy, look out for it!
Melvin residence? No, ma'am, she's not at home. I think she's at the police station.
Yes, he died instantly. Yes, ma'am. I'll tell her you called. Thank you. Oh, Miss Melvin. Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Are you all right?
Yes, Cora.
The phone has been ringing steady. I wrote everybody's name down.
Thank you.
It must have been terrible, Mr. Bennington, right before her eyes.
Yes. Cora,
Yes, sir.
stay close to her tonight, will you?
Yes, sir, I will, Mr. Bennington.
Harriet, I wish you'd let me call Dr. Harris. He could give you something.
It was my fault.
Now, what kind of talk is that?
He didn't want to go tonight. He wanted to stay home. I made him go.
Now, let's have no more of this nonsense.
I had too many things on my mind. I always had too many things on my mind. That's the last thing he said to me. Everything at Bennington's comes first, always. And it was true. That's why he died tonight.
Now, listen to me, Harriet. This was an accident. Nothing you've done or left undone can possibly change that fact. It was an accident. I'll see you first thing in the morning.
Mrs. Milvain, can't I get you a cup of tea?
All right, Cora, if it'll make you feel any better.
Thank you.
I don't want to see anyone.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Milvain.
Where is she? I want to talk to her.
She is in the living room, Mrs. Milvain.
My son is dead. How did it happen? Tell me.
We were on our way to the banquet. We ran out of gas. I'd forgotten to get some. Roy started across the street to the filling station. There was this truck. He didn't see it. I tried to warn him, but it was too late. Now you have real cause to hate me.
I could forgive you if you'd made him happy. But you didn't.
I tried. I loved Roy.
You loved your career. Well, now you have it.
All right, hate me. Hate me!
She loved him more than he did her. Save that for her. All those secret phone calls.
Secret phone calls.
The ones he kept making to that woman. He called her sweet and honey and darling.
Does Mrs. Malvain know about these calls?
I tried to tell her, ma'am, but she wouldn't listen to me.
She was quite right not to listen. And don't burden her with it now. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, don't just stand there. Go on, take the tea upstairs.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, have you checked the shipment against the invoice? Well, hadn't you better? This isn't a dime store. If there's a shortage, let me know. Right. Gentlemen, I have just seen your design for our continental room. I am very disappointed. They won't do it all.
Good morning.
Good morning, Phil.
Anyone on your calendar for lunch?
About 35 people requesting replies. I'm having a sandwich service.
That's getting to be standard procedure.
You've given me 4 new departments.
You took them over yourself. Now stop looking for excuses, Harriet. Why are you avoiding me?
Well, I'm sorry if you feel that way.
Well, what would you call it? I've asked you out to lunch and dinner every day for the last month. Your answer's always the same. Work and more work.
Well, I've only been a widow for 6 weeks. I'm still in mourning.
I don't think dinner and a little conversation with an old friend would be showing Roy any disrespect.
Oh, these sketches from... Would you like some more coffee?
No, thanks.
You can take it. Thank you, Cora. These sketches came from Winton and Graham. I was very disappointed in them. What do you think?
I didn't come here to talk about business. I came here to talk about you.
Me?
Yes. I want you to take a vacation.
Why?
Because you're working yourself into a breakdown, trying to blot out this foolish notion that you were responsible for Roy's death. Now, you've got to understand, Harriet, it wasn't your fault.
It was my fault. I loved Roy. I wanted him to live, but some hidden part of me must have wanted him to die. That part of me made it happen.
How?
Well, I knew he hated my job and my career, but I kept on. Phil, he did.
Roy thrived on your success, Harriet.
That's not true. He begged me to stay home that night.
If you had agreed to stay home, he would have talked you out of it. He was a master at making people feel guilty. He was putting on his usual show.
How can you talk about him like this?
Oh, Harriet, face the truth. Roy was leaning on you. He was always leaning on someone. In school, it was me.
You?
Yes. Somehow he always had me feeling responsible for his mistakes. So I wrote his term papers for him, pulled him through his exams, bailed him out of one jam after another. Harriet, why do you think you're my vice president? In the office, you're the most logical, incisive woman I know. Last year, you made a mistake. It cost quite a bit of money. But you faced it, went on, and took the loss. Now, if you can make that kind of a decision in the office, why can't you do it here? Roy was a mistake. The biggest one you ever made. Now, that had to be said, Harriet.
Please go, Phil.
I'll never be able to convince you, will I?
No, I'm afraid not.
Have it your way. Thanks for dinner.
Phil, perhaps I shouldn't take a vacation. Perhaps I should resign.
Perhaps you should.
You'll have my resignation in the morning.
Goodbye, Harriet.
Miss Melby.
Oh, Cora, all finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Oh, come on now, cheer up. It's not the end of the world. I'll send for you as soon as I'm settled, I promise.
Yes, ma'am. You have a visitor in the living room.
Oh?
Yes.
Oh, good afternoon, Harry.
Mrs. Milvain, I didn't see your car outside.
No, I sent it on an errand.
What can I do for you?
I hear you're leaving town.
Yes, I'm going to New York.
Why?
Oh, I've had several very interesting offers. I intend to accept one.
Oh, yes. Your career.
Mrs. Melvain, my father was a longshoreman, my mother a waitress. I've always worked. I had to. I'm leaving in an hour. I don't have much time.
Why have you left Bennington?
That doesn't concern you. You came here to say something, say it.
Very well, Harriet. Forget my son before it's too late. Much as I regret to say it, he wasn't worth your concern.
What?
And stop feeling guilty because you think you neglected him.
But I did neglect him. He wanted a home and me in it.
That's just what he didn't want. He neglected you.
How?
You never knew Roy's father. They were very much alike. Same gaiety and wit, good looks. Oh, we were considered quite a match. His social position, my money. Such fine talk in the beginning, oh, such promises for the future. He was going to be a captain of industry. Well, it took him just 1 year to lose $1 million. Then I took over. Oh, how guilty he made me feel. Until I found out about the brandy and the gambling and the girls. And I realized that my captain didn't want to be a captain at all, just a smiling lieutenant. I tried to combat all these things in Roy. I tried hard. I wasn't strong enough. I failed.
Why are you telling me this? You, of all people.
I'm obliged to tell you. Because if there's any blame connected with Roy's death, it's mine.
Then we both failed. I was ambitious. I did want social position. He was my husband. He loved me. The truth is, I guess I didn't love him enough.
You see, it wasn't the Pacific Heights burglar after all. Roy took these and gave them to a young woman. Oh, I'm not lying, be assured of that. She tried to sell them to me this afternoon, but when I mentioned insurance detectives, she suddenly felt they should be returned to the family. My chauffeur should be back by now. I've known Philip Bennington ever since he fell out of one of our oak trees. I always hoped he'd have a good influence on Roy. He was such a nice boy. Still is. Well, now. Goodbye.
Luggage is in the taxi, Miss Melvin. You better start for the airport so you leave yourself enough time.
Yes, Cora.
Yes? Who? Well, send her in. Mrs. Melvane.
Oh.
Oh, good to see you.
Hello, Philip.
Come and sit down.
You know, I've often shopped at Bennington's, but I've never been in its offices.
Well, I'm honored to have you here at last.
I imagine your business takes you to New York on occasion.
Yes, it does, several times a year.
Are you contemplating a trip in the near future?
No, I just returned.
Oh, what a pity.
Well, I'm at a loss, Mrs. Melvane. Why a pity?
Interfering in other people's lives is always presumptuous and frequently perilous.
And are you about to interfere in mine?
If I may.
Well, please do.
Well, of all the gods and goddesses in mythology, I've always thought Cupid conducted himself in the worst taste. Suddenly, I find myself in that role.
Indeed.
My daughter-in-law, Harriet, left for New York this afternoon to accept one of several positions that have been offered her.
Well, why shouldn't she? She was one of the best executives I ever had.
Philip, that day you fell out of my oak tree, I wonder if it could have been on your head.
As a matter of fact, it was.
Well, you certainly seem to be acting like it. If you're in love with Harriet, get on one of those jet airplanes and stop her. She doesn't want a career. She wants what every woman wants.
Did she tell you this?
No, she's too proud. Just as you are. There. Now I've said it.
Get me a ticket on the first jet to New York.
This necklace belongs to Harriet. Will you please deliver it to her?
Certainly.
And if you'll take me downstairs, Philip, I think I'll buy a pair of gloves.